And greetings once again to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy podcast being brought to you live via recording from the 7th moon of Thunder. Greetings, fellow travelers on the starship Planet Earth.
Planet Earth.
And welcome to a special DC comics, movies, television.
By the way, I'm Captain Fizz. We had no introductions. You suck.
I'm really off the ball today.
You are off the ball. You are fired as my introducer.
Well, I think the big problem here is that you brought your cat to the studio today. And
No. My cat brought me to the studio today.
More or less. One way or the other. It depends on whose point of view it is.
The cats.
It's
cats. Always the cats.
So I'm allergic to cats, so my face is feeling a little itchy because she decided to become a little too affectionate.
It has nothing to do with the mask.
Hey, what I gotta say? Girls love the mask, even if they're, not human.
Apparently. So yes, we've been talking so much about Marvel that we decided today it would be all about DC. And DC has opened the heavens for us.
They have. So, Captain, I'll let you go first.
We'll start with DC because comics are always golden to talk about. They're reintroducing 8 new miniseries in early 2016. Some of them with familiar faces, some of them with new faces. We'll start with the original creators. We got Len Wein doing Swamp Thing and the Metal Men, which was always a good read. Marv Wolfman he's doing Teen Titans hero Raven, which honestly was probably by far my favorite Teen Titan. Starfire wasn't bad.
Starfire, I don't know. I read some of the old Teen Titans, and Starfire, for whatever reason, was always, portrayed as being, really sexy.
Yes.
So,
But you know what? Raven has a cloak.
There's just something about the dark, mysterious woman.
And she's evil. We got Jerry Conway doing Firestorm. My cat has decided to come back to the studio. Mike W. Barr doing Katana. Cult of the Cobra. There's one that's going to be unique to see again.
Okay, so explain to some people, myself included, what was Cult of the Cobra? Because that's one I've never heard of.
It's been a while. We'll get you to Google it so we can, talk about it more. That's a good one to actually, talk about. Now we'll go to the new faces while he does that. Amy Chu is doing Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death. And he's basically Bob Harris, who runs the DC. He's the vice president, I believe it is. Very top guy. He says he's going to basically put Poison Ivy in a whole totally different direction, which will be unique to see. It's not very often you see Poison Ivy front and center. Aaron Lopresti is going to do a brand new Metamorpho series. Should be unique to catch that one. Here's one that hasn't been seen since 1971 that's coming back. Keith Giffen will be redoing the Sheldon Mayer created Sugar and Spike. They're taking it to a whole new direction. It's a grown-up spin. Griffin's comments himself are they're not spoiled kids anymore. They're older and they're operating as private investigators handling problems and mysteries that the superheroes can't handle themselves. So it's basically superhero, but kind of also more just super detectives. So kind of a unique aspect to a comic book. And to bring back 1971 comic that apparently was extremely popular and giving it new eyes, new artwork should be unique.
Right, I've actually been doing some quick research on the Cobra Cult. Apparently it was, I don't know if they'll be doing it in the new version, but of the comic, but in the original, apparently the Cobra Cult was actually led by someone named Cobra, and
probably not from G.I. Joe.
Some sort of mad scientist but it was founded. It was underreported part of the world is where it originally came from, and they had this prophecy about how they would come to greatness with a twin as their leader, and in the early days they apparently just grabbed a random twin boy to go off and become their leader.
So definitely going to be a unique comic book.
It could be interesting. I don't really... I mean, that's only how much I could really pick up really quickly. DC
has a history of taking nonchalant comic books and turning them into, big popular pieces.
Well, DC... It's actually, I mean, some of the things you would look at and think, oh, that's garbage. I can't believe they're doing that. Like doing the whole comic strip just for Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
But... I'm trying to remember Jack Kirby, who's famously, worked with Stan Lee to create a lot of the great Marvel characters. He actually worked on Jimmy Olsen when he jumped ship for a while, and he had to do this before they would let him do Superman, which is what he really wanted to do.
Yeah, Marvel tends to like to take a safe route on a lot of their characters.
You mean DC?
Oh, no, Marvel does. Yeah. DC likes to think completely out of the box.
And so
they're not afraid to completely remodel.
And so when he actually did took over Jimmy Olsen, he actually brought in characters that he had created for a third comic book company, and it actually helped to elevate the comic strip.
Yeah, no, DC's always unique. I love watching what they can come up with. Their artwork. If you're listening to this and you want to see the artwork, Google what we've talked about. Look at the artwork; it is fantastic.
And just to let you know, if you're going to look up the Culper cult, I'll help you a little bit. The Culper is actually spelled with a K instead of a C.
Kind of like G.I. Joe.
No, I think G.I. Joe is actually spelled with a C.
Was it C? Oh, I always spelled it with a K. I don't know. So in 2 days they are releasing Blu-ray, DVD, and digitally, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? It's a documentary talking about the Superman that never happened.
And see, just going through there, I won't go over a lot of the details, but there was the big reason why it took so long for them to bring out a new Superman movie between Superman 3 and Superman Returns is just a lot of crazy stuff when happened. Superman 4 was so badly received that they went off and decided they were going to have to just redo everything. There was actually talk of doing a Superman 5 and completely ignoring Superman 3 and 4. Yeah. And at one point, Kevin Smith was actually came on to write a script for it, and I won't go through all the details, but he had a couple of weird ideas.
Yeah. What he's talking about actually leads up to what I'm talking about.
And so he went off and suggested the Superman. Actually, Smith wrote this. Oh, no, so this wasn't Kevin Smith. This was actually a producer named John Peters went up and came up with these ideas, and he suggested them to Kevin Smith that Superman can't fly, never be shown flying, that Superman should have some more costume with lots of black body armor, that there should be as little dialogue as possible, and just a couple of other things.
Kind of remind you of somebody? Black armor.
So he was trying to make a flying version of Batman, more or less. And so eventually Kevin Smith, he handed in a script. It wasn't that great, and they decided to go in a different direction, and they brought Tim Burton in.
Yes.
And
which leads up to the documentary they're releasing. Basically, in 1997, Tim Burton was directing the new Superman, and starring none other than Nicolas Cage as the Flying Blue Wonder.
See, I actually remember this story. I was about 16 or 17, I believe, when the story first came out that Nicolas Cage was going to do it, and it was going to be based off the storyline of the life and death of Superman, based around Doomsday and his eventual resurrection, so to speak.
Yeah, no, and the woman who actually designed the costume for Nicolas Cage back then, who actually looked oddly ugly, not because of the costume, but scruffy, wild hair.
And again, I think he wouldn't necessarily have looked like that for the movie.
Oh, probably not, but
and if I remember correctly, part of the reason why the whole movie fell through is because Nicolas Cage kind of
walked
away from it.
He has a habit of that.
Well, and here's the thing. I remember when I had heard about it. I mean, I was a teenager at the time, and I thought, no, not Nicolas Cage. I couldn't see Nicolas Cage doing any superhero movie, let alone Superman.
Yeah. Well, the woman who designed the costume, she's a 3-time Oscar Award winner. Her name is Colleen Atwood. She actually now serves as the costume designer for CBC's new fall series, Supergirl.
Oh, you mean CBS, not CBC. CBS.
I can't read my own squigglies.
CBC is a government-funded radio and television station here in Canada.
So they claim.
Well,
it's a propaganda.
Well, honestly, I mean, come on. Ever since they lost the rights to NHL, no
one even knows they exist up here.
Unfortunately, which is too bad because they do have some great programming.
But there's another program that's going to be unique to wait for, Supergirl.
Absolutely. Supergirl will be really interesting. Do you watch Saturday Night Live at all?
I do not watch Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
I've watched clips from time to time, but I haven't, no.
There was a skit that they did when they brought in, I can't remember his name, the girl who did Black Widow. I can't believe I can't remember her name.
My lord.
But anyways, they brought her on, and they went off and did this, chick flick spoof on what a Black Widow movie would look like. It was real. I mean, it was completely the whole, chick flick thing. She ended up dating Ultron, and at the end of it, the Hulk goes off and brings some ice cream to her because she.
Okay, that sounds like an episode I actually would watch.
And I remember watching it. I thought it was hilarious, and then I watched that 6-minute spoiler or introduction for Supergirl, and I started laughing because it completely reminded me of that Avengers spoof that they did several weeks earlier.
I am going to convince my cohort to find it and put it on Twitter.
Yeah, if I can find it, it was absolutely great.
If he can't find it, I will find it.
I think that's where they're, I think that's how it'll be kind of successful, because this is going to be a show that obviously they're trying to attract a female demographic to. Yeah. And so I know that they've, having watched it, it's been several weeks since I saw, the Supergirl, mini movie that they went off and did, but they do show Superman, but they don't show him close up. We do know that she, is well aware of who he is, and he knows who she is. Yeah. At one point, at the end of that whole video, he actually sends her the blanket that he came to Earth in to use as her cape.
Yeah, no. The other, I haven't heard much about it, but the other one they're bringing in is Krypton.
Krypton. Well,
Krypton.
Krypton, the dog.
No. It's a TV series.
Oh, they're
like
doing
Gotham.
a TV series.
It's like Gotham. It's going to be for Superman, though. It's basically like, I don't know the aspect of how they're going to do it, because, obviously they did Smallville, which takes up a huge part of what's, Superman. So it makes not a whole lot of sense what they're going to do there. But it should also be unique to see.
Well, I mean, I look at that, though, is, I remember in the last episode of Smallville, you actually see a friend of Chloe's, Chloe, there was a character who was specifically created for Supergirl, for Smallville,
Yeah.
who actually, they became so beloved